There was some LeBron action.
Yep.
We signed with the Lakers. I know you're fascinated by that.
Yep, shocking.
And then over the weekend, a Tom Brady conspiracy theory is right up your alley. Dana White on the Gronk simulcast for UFC laid out the story. Tom Brady and the Raiders. Can I tell you, I would have been skeptical of the story from Dana White, but Gronk confirming it means that it was basically true.
Oh, is this also like sports Mad Libs? It was like Brady and Gronkowski going to the Raiders because Dana White was brokering the deal, and then it fell through because Jon Gruden kiboshed it for reasons we're still not really sure, but think we might know because Gruden's personality maybe would have conflicted with Brady's stardom. This is the wildest story. And I got to be honest, this is a dark day for Raider fans to find this out. And I know you're excited about the season and Devontae Adams and maybe Josh McDaniels, and I get it. And I'm excited about the Raiders too. But this is an all-timer. And if this was true, and if Brady was looking at houses in Las Vegas, if it got that close, you have to feel so awful today if you're a Raider fan. Can you imagine the owner of your team, no matter how much he's given Jon Gruden, who in that point, I know was very successful the first time around with the Raiders, but in the second stint had yet to finish 500 in a season. Draft picks were busting all over the place, right? That was probably a weird way to put it. Draft busts all over the place. And you have a shot to get Tom Brady, and you would actually choose Gruden over Brady, or not demand from your head coach. You're the owner of the team. You're Mark Davis. You would not demand, hey, you got to make it work here with Tom Brady. And somehow Gruden could win a power struggle over Tom Brady. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And no offense to Derek Carr, but we call him the Bermuda Triangle of quarterback evaluation. We cannot, every time we try to talk about him, we get lost at sea and end up drowning. This is Brady, the no-doubter, the one guy who can change the franchise. Gruden made things worse for you. Brady could have made you a Super Bowl winner, and they just let it fall apart. If this story is true, as a Raider fan, I'm incensed.
No, I'm not. First of all, the second you hear real estate involved, you know somebody's lying about something. Because I've fallen for so many, they're looking at houses in my cities. Dana White gets his toes in the NFL all the time. I don't know how. That's why I didn't think it would be real. But Gronk said, okay, maybe the Raiders win, and obviously we'll get into the shop, quote by Tom Brady. Yeah. But that team was not good. That was the Mike Mayock Raiders. They just drafted Cleveland Farrell and Jonathan Abram. They had busts all over the place.
Yeah,
That team was not going to win with Tom Brady and Jon Gruden as their coach. So honestly, if I'm a Raiders, I don't think anyone in Vegas cares right now, because right now they're stacked with Pro Bowlers everywhere. That team wasn't going to win.
Okay, the Tampa Bay Bucks before Brady got there were 7-9.
Yeah, but everyone knew they had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. There was a lot of excitement there, and Jameis was throwing the ball to the other team all the time. There was a lot of reasons to be more optimistic about that team. And you had really good players that were coming up on defense, where I don't think like the hope would have been there with the Raiders. They weren't going to win. The bottom line is they weren't winning a Super Bowl with Jon Gruden and Tom Brady. It was not going to happen.
First of all, you don't know that.
I do. Jon Gruden was not winning a Super Bowl in his second stint there with the Raiders. They weren't even close.
Okay, so you could say that maybe it would not have worked. But if I'm the owner of the team, that is a risk I must take. I must do that. I can't just say, okay, Gruden if Dana White's telling the story right, and that Brady was into it, or at least they were close, and Gruden is the one who blew it up, you can't live with yourself. Like, what are you doing if you're an owner there? You're going to choose the coach over Tom Brady. Like, again, how could you not try to put your team in the best position to win a Super Bowl by bringing Brady aboard? And instead, you would pick Gruden, and then now we know what's happened since, which is Gruden getting unceremoniously, kicked out because of the emails.
Yeah, I do. Of course, they picked wrong, but we know that now. At the time, Jon Gruden, I think, was the highest paid coach in the league, had the biggest contract.
Yeah, he got that huge contract, but he had yet to deliver on it.
He didn't, but he was the most in-demand coach in the NFL. He was a big deal back then. We're looking at Jon Gruden now, and it seems like a joke, but I'm not sure that Brady was coming off a terrible year in New England, his worst year in a long time. He wasn't a perfect fit for every team. If you're a young developing team, you probably didn't want a 43-year-old Tom Brady. Yes, of course you want him now. But like the Raiders, I'm telling you, I don't know where they are. If Can you imagine?
Who would you rather have as the identity of your team? Jon Gruden or Tom freaking Brady?
Wait, you understand that both of them would have been there?
No, I understand, but there was a choice. This is how it sounds to me. It felt like there was a choice where Brady was into it, and Gruden is the one who came in and said, no, thank you. And
so
to
you're
me,
saying the owner had to fire?
The owner had to approve that. Like, so the owner had to be like, all right, I guess I'm siding with Gruden.
Well, right, because Gruden had this monster contract. So even if they had gotten Brady, it would have been Brady and Gruden.
Okay, yes, but this is why NFL owners are super ridiculously rich, is because your coach's salary does not count against the salary cap. You can spend whatever. If you want to be an idiot and pay Jon Gruden $100 million, that's your prerogative because you can afford it. Tom Brady, meanwhile, is getting paid $25 million a year. He's getting paid less than Kyler Murray. Like, you can... This is a sport that is all about the quarterback. You had even potentially, an opportunity to get Tom Brady. The fact that you wouldn't move heaven and earth to get him, to me, is the most insane thing I've ever heard from someone. Are you trying to win and make money, or are you trying to placate Jon Gruden? I know he meant a lot to the franchise the first time around. I get that. He's not just some schmo off the street to Raider fans. But you have a chance where the greatest quarterback of all time could finish his career with your franchise, and you let your coach say no thanks because of an ego thing. Because of an ego thing. How awful is that? I'm telling you, if that were me and I were a Raider fan, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I would turn in my season tickets. I would be out.
You know, you're talking about Mark Davis.
I know. Samter saw him in the lobby of the hotel in Vegas. What was he, eating some chicken wings or something? That was a different story. I'm getting my Mark Davis stories confused.
I mean, do you yell at your 3-year-old kid like this? What are you doing here? You're ripping Mark Davis for me? I don't know. It just feels like you're a Raiders fan. I'd like to hear from a Raiders fan. Like, there's no Raider fan who feels like you do, because they don't take Mark Davis seriously, and they know that this never would have worked with that ownership coaching group and Mayock as well. It just wouldn't have worked.
I know that it's futile. Like, it would just never work. But I would try to start a petition to get the team sold. Like, that to me is so egregious that you would pass on Brady.
Oh my gosh, that is. First of all, we don't know exactly what happened, but that is a drop in the bucket for Mark Davis. Look at his haircut. I mean, I don't even know what. This is Mark Davis we're talking about. You sound like you're ripping Robert Kraft or Jerry Jones or someone.
But here's the thing: even if you're Mark Davis and you're like, just the guy who, and I'm going to say something where I say no offense, and I'm going to say something offensive. You were born on third. You got very. Even he would say that, right?
We all know about Mark Davis, right?
Okay, we all know about Mark Davis. Even for Mark Davis to not realize the opportunity in front of you. Like, honestly, what are you doing owning an NFL franchise if you have a chance to get Tom Brady and you decide not to do it because Gruden's ego is so big? Like, even Mark Davis's brain should be able to compute that, no? You're an owner of an NFL team. Aren't you trying to get the best player in the NFL?
Well, which would you put in a dumber thing? That Gruden contract to start with, or the passing on Tom Brady?
Both.
Or, I mean, listen, I could go on for days about what happened to the Raiders in the last 20 years.
Oh, I get it, and I understand. But the interesting thing is the Gruden contract, while insane even at the time, you could kind of understand. Gruden had been such a hot coaching commodity because he had been in the Monday Night Football booth. He had not lost a game for like a decade or however long he was in the booth for. And so his mythology just kept growing and growing. He's got the history with the franchise. It was a stupid contract, but again, it doesn't affect your salary cap. There's not one player in theory that you should not be able to sign because you gave Jon Gruden such a big deal, right? So I could kind of understand where they're coming from. Maybe. But Brady comes along and you let Gruden say thanks, but no thanks, because he doesn't want to share the spotlight, we think? We don't even know the actual reason, but we don't think it's football reasons.
Yeah, I don't know.
Personality?
I'd be surprised. Like, Raiders, I don't think Raiders fans necessarily think of it like, oh man, we let him slip through our fingers. I just don't feel like they view it that way.
You don't think a grown man who paints his face in silver and black and dresses up like a pirate is that into this team would not be upset that they passed on Brady? You haven't had a shot at a Super Bowl in 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. 2002, your last shot. Then it took you 14 years just to make the playoffs again. I mean,
I think they're pretty psyched where they are right now. I don't think that
Good,
they look back at that 2020 team. There were so many problems on that roster. There's no way it would have worked.
I can't understand why more people aren't thinking like me on this one. I'm out of my mind for the Raider fan on this one.
Because I think you're shredding an owner who's been so shredded that there's nothing left to shred. That's why I think that's why people are not going, like
they just expect it from.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have a Raider. Our Raider fan Stu is not here, but I just can't see a Raider fan getting his up in arms. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Raiders fans are upset.
I don't know. I mean, I rooted for a team that was in the desert for 20 years. Couldn't find a quarterback. It was just awful, awful. And the reason why you stick around is because you're full and hope, but also because you're just thinking, all we need is that one guy, just that one guy. And then here he comes. His ship is sailing right by, and you just let Jon Gruden throw a stick of dynamite into it, if this story is true.
I mean, there's also, you ripping the Niners for the same thing? Because they...
Totally. Yes, at least they've had a little more success with Garoppolo. They at least made a Super Bowl and went back to another NFC Championship game. For the Raiders, what do you have to show for it? You lost in Cincinnati? You lost another wild card game, but that was before Gruden got there?
I don't know. The other thing, too, is I'd like to see, that final contract. Was Brady really going to sign with that team?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? But
yeah, I
Dana White made it seem like, and listen, again.
Oh, there you go.
I know. I don't know how many deals Dana White's brokering in the NFL. That's another thing that makes the Raiders look silly. You got a whole front office. You have all these famous football people who are running your front office. Mike Mayock, you've got Gruden, you've got all these executives, 101 of them, and you need Dana White to come in and broker a deal with Brady? What? And I'm the crazy one.
Did Dana White get Gruden there, by the way? I feel like Dana White, did he take credit for getting Gruden in the first place? I feel like he always jumps in on all these different...
Also, Dana White...
he took credit for getting Las Vegas, the Raiders at Vegas.
Oh, maybe. I mean, who knows? Powerful guy in Vegas. But
no.
He's another guy like you who wants to root for two teams in the same conference, which I don't allow, or I don't think is a fan. He's obviously a Patriots fan, right? Dana White's from Boston. We all know this. Some Boston guy. You're going to root for the Patriots and you're going to root for the Raiders? And they're both in the AFC? To me, I don't get that.
Yeah, I just feel like...
It's lower on my list of grudges with Dana. But
yeah, I feel like Dana White is probably taking credit for a lot of things that may or may not have happened. That's all I'll say. I'm not sure that... I'm not sure that
nobody has come out and debunked the story.
Yeah, I'm sure Tom Brady was looking at them. They were in the mix, but I don't know for sure that was a done deal. And I don't think it would have been a great fit.
Well, fit we could talk about another time.
I mean, Jon Gruden and Tom Brady, he would... It could have been an epic meltdown.
Yeah, and you should have picked
Brady might have gotten a little upset with Jon. Jon Gruden gets his hands into everything. I just couldn't see it working.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Just hit the bell.